first pick is very interesting because I feel like Batiste is a better pick because you can flex him in jungle or captain. They're instead go ahead and take away the Kestrel instead, and that's going to give Hammers the Batiste combo that they normally play here.
We'll see whether they're going to be able to grab that combo for themselves. Hammers now going to be deciding where to go with this one. Obviously, the Glaive we've seen in all three positions across the course of this season. Captain least, I think lane the most, but jungle was definitely the most recent meta version of Glaive. Definitely still available in all three roles if you do lean that way, though. So we'll see where Hammers want to go with this draft, and this next pick will likely...
Adagio comes out.
Okay, so it's not going to be the double heal Adagio, obviously, because Lyra is picked and Grace is banned.
I think they took the Adagio here to deny the double heal from Immortals, very likely, just because Dienzio would have been fine playing the Adagio in the lane.
You can take
and
Samuel
there's going to be Vox picked up, however, for Immortals.
And it's Samuel.
Yep. And it's actually an interesting fact about the Vox, is it's kind of surprising that Hammers haven't put more priority on this hero, because they are 5-0 when they get Vox in their hands. It's one of the only heroes that they have multiple games on while still maintaining that 100% win rate.
Yeah. This is that standard composition that we were talking about a couple of weeks ago on broadcast. Actually, Koshka going to be the final pick coming on
that's
through
a very
here.
aggressive comp, but into a Samuel Lyra is very risky because Samuel Lyra beats Koshka. That's why a lot of teams don't play Koshka into a Samuel Lyra. And on top of it, when Vox gets his power spike and items, like Vox and Samuel can destroy Koshka that wants to jump in like that. So pretty risky, but they pull up the early game aggression. Hammers can pull this game off, but they let it get to mid to late game, then Lyra and all the CC and power from Samuel and Vox is going to just shut them down.
Yeah, and there's a lot of pressure on the Hammers players right now. They want as many points as possible. They want to get up that seeding because other teams are going to catch up to them. They are barely any points ahead of the rest of the pack right now. Immortals are 1-0 up in this series. Do Hammers have what it takes to push this to a third game, Vic?
They definitely do, but I don't know if this is going to be the composition for them to do so. Like CJ said, it's very strong early on, but if you don't have a massive lead by the time the mid game comes around, it is going to be so difficult. And we've already seen multiple games where a team has won the early game, but didn't have that massive lead going into the mid game and end up losing it.
All right, well, let's get on into this game. Hashtag Vainglory on Twitter to let us know who you are supporting. But it's time to find out what the Hollywood Hammers are made of and if they can push this to a 3-game series up against Immortals. It's time to pass it over to our wonderful casters. It's Dowsy and Big Scoundrel.
This is a very aggressive competition coming out of Hammers. Last week we saw them take a pre-12-minute win off of Cloud9 in the finals, and right now Hammers are saying we're going to come back into this series and we're going to do it going fast.
I like the change up of tactics from the starting all over invade. Immortals learnt their lesson from last time, and Zio pushes that lane up a little bit to make it a little bit of a harder decision for Hammers, or they are going to continue this pressure here.
Ooh, it's going to be a knockback. Max Green is going to be forced around the corner. Looks like he should be able to escape okay here at Scoundrel, as currently okay, happy to take his jungle, but that is going to be the Treant going over to Hammers. Playboy able to steal it. Now they're roaming into the lane to try and take out Dienzio as well. That Afterburn not ready, so there's going to be no aggression, but Hammers still stealing away a camp.
But, you know, it's a forward healing tree on that didn't result in a net set of kills for Hammers in the early game here. So what I really like from Immortals is that they learned from the aggression that Hammers had. Dienzio gets to lane, pushes the lane up just a little bit. Didn't quite get where he wanted to, actually. I think has accidentally given Hammers a small area where they could try to freeze it. But then Hammers is just going to push back. And Dienzio's given himself a small CS advantage over starting at the end of this this wave, because obviously there's still quite a few minions to collect here for Zio, so he's just going to get those and put them in his back pocket. But it was a good adaptation of tactics. You would happily just give up a forward healing tree on for a lack of aggression, basically.
Ooh, Dienzio with the quick sidestep, going to avoid taking a fatal amount of damage from starting all over there. Won't go down just yet. Archaic though on this Koshka, look at him! Immediately into the enemy jungle looking for T-Tigers. T-Tigers knows how Koshka's played. He's going to throw down that Drifting Dark, but Playboy Afro's with him. They're going to look for first blood, and it's going to be as easy as 1, 2, 3 for Archaic. He gets the kill.
Man, all the pressure generated in lane allowed Hammers to rotate Playboy Afro and Archaic into the enemy jungle, knowing that because of the low health on Zio, and because of the threat of a potential dive from starting and Playboy Afro combined, they could just move into the enemy jungle and get away with it for free, making it very difficult for Immortals to rotate and punish them, because Zio was so focused on taking minions under the turret. It's so important to make sure you're keeping your farm under the turret. You don't want to sacrifice farm to that turret. So Zio could not rotate, and that's lane mechanics 101, Dalsy. Push the lane, rotate.
Yeah, and look at him, he's doing it again. T-Tigers, he is just going to have this over and over again. Immortals this time rotating as a 3 to try and stop this aggression. Brightbow goes down, but starting jumps around it. And it's going to be Archaic with another kill. DNZO now in trouble, and I don't think he escapes here. Scoundrel tries his best, but it's Archaic with the double. Before this game started, starting set in the lobby, Scoundrel. Why did you give us Koshka? Archaic going to give you that quick 11-minute loss. And right now, Archaic is saying, yeah, boy, I am.
Goodness me, Dalsy. Let's take stock of... We talked about what Immortals had learned from last game to this game. Let's take stock of what Hammers have learned from last game to this game. Running a similarly aggressive composition, although you don't have that backline firing cannon of the Celeste. You now have a double dive melee composition with the support of a Captain Adagio. Very aggressive early game. You can get lots of work done. Hammers have learned... Let's do something with that aggression in the early game. Let's steal jungle. Let's put pressure on T-Tigers, and they have consistently head towards T-Tigers' backs. A double CS advantage for Archaic because of the pressure that they've put down here, Dalsy.
Yeah, it's going to be Immortals trying to learn from this mistake and put the pressure back on by rotating DNZO back and forth, but this only gives starting all over advantages in the lane. It's a 10 CS lead for him. Now Archaic is just having so much fun. In a bit of trouble this time. Let's see how this plays out. Playboy Afro pops the boosts, and that's going to be him escaping. Last game it was starting all over who had the CS deficit, but now he's looking for a kill on Max Green, and T-Tigers, he's going low as well. Crystal Sentry going to get involved. The fountain popped. Hammers starting to hit a point where the Crystal Sentry does become an issue. They've got themselves a huge gold lead, 2,500 at this point. It's not just kills, but it's farm as well.
One of the major comeback mechanics of Immortals in the previous game was Zio having a massive CS advantage over his opponents, spiking very early on because he was able to get tier 3 items more quickly and more readily than his opponent starting all over. This time round, it's the opposite way around. Starting all over has the CS advantage. DNZO is on the back foot. Suddenly, Vox spiking earlier is not going to happen as easily for Immortals. They're going to have to fully turtle this game to get themselves into a position where they might be able to fight. For the Immortals, the key is that as this game progresses, it's going to be about Frostburn control from T-Tigers in these fights, and Max Green's Bright Bulwark. Bright Bulwark is the killer of the Hammers composition if used correctly and at the right time.
Let's talk about Frostburn, Scoundrel, because it's nowhere near. It's nowhere near. I think it's an understatement, and Max Green's caught out as well. Max Green's just going to get bursted. The fountain not enough. Archaic still has his ultimate. They're going to turn T-Tigers. That was a quick block. He is going to survive for it, and Archaic is going to go down. Now DNZO looking for a double kill. Can he get it? Yes, he can! It's going to come through.
Oh,
an error
no.
from Hammers.
Hammers, they went so aggressive, they burnt the fountain so early because I think Playboy was very worried about the turret damage that he was taking. They burnt that fountain, and then Archaic chose to re-engage. Once that Koshka ultimate is blocked, back off, especially under turret. There's no way that you can follow that up against a full HP target. Even with the spike of the Aftershock and the Heavy Prism, it was, I think, just far too aggressive move there, and it really punished the Hammers roster because suddenly gold has been placed in the back pocket. DNZO's got the Poison Shiv and these 6 Sins now, and T-Tiger is that much closer to the Frostburn.
Yeah, and that has just accelerated it. The point about Frostburn not being anywhere near is void. Yes, it's late, Scoundrel, but it's on the way.
You hit the nail on the head here, not to make a DNZO Hammers pun or anything, but it's I'm just reminded of that moment. It's obviously it's a massive spike that usually you want to get between, well, anywhere from 4 minutes to 5 minutes 30, right? That's usually like a good time frame to have picked up your Frostburn. If you're doing well or even, most people say that's a nice time to have picked up the Frostburn. So it's a little bit delayed here for T-Tigers. Can finish it up and go get it now, but because Hammers are threatening in lane, he doesn't feel like he can rotate to shop because it's going to put DNZO and Max Green in an awkward position. But once that comes down, suddenly the control that it provides Dalsy might provide some respite for the Immortals roster.
There are reflex blocks on every member of Immortals, really respecting the Afterburn and the Koshka ultimate. Let's see how Hammers decide to play this as a double melee composition with their range in the form of an Adagio. Their siege is not there. They require all-in engage if they're going to be able to get objectives.
You hit a really, really nice point there, Dalsy. One of the major ways to capitalize on your advantages is by taking global objectives. Now, certain compositions are better at taking certain global objectives. For instance, this kind of composition from Hammers is going to be better at taking things like Goldmine and Crystal Sentry because they can commit to it and it's going to draw the enemy towards them, which as a double melee composition is what you want, right? But taking turrets is not this composition's strong point because you have to commit so hard like this.
Oh no. Starting all over, is he just straight up? Yes, he is. And Oblivion put Playboy to sleep. I was wondering where the fountain was. He has Crucible available. What an error coming out of Hammers. Oh no.
It's deja vu.
It is deja vu because last week Hammers made error after error and it cost them so many advantages in the early game. Errors that you just don't make at this level of play, these kind of players, and it's devastating for them. They need a victory here to guarantee their spot. One of their win conditions, Excoundrel, as far as Unified Western Live Championship plane tickets are concerned, is don't get swept by Immortals. And right now, it's looking like they're getting swept by Immortals.
Absolutely ridiculous. The Frostburn comes out. You saw the difference in siege potential between these two teams. It was a momentary, fleeting chance to get some damage onto a turret here for Immortals as a pause comes out. It was a momentary, fleeting chance. And Immortals got half the turret HP. How many fights have we seen Hammers pick off people and win and get almost next to nothing on that turret? I mean,
So many times.
Exactly. So many times, Dalsy. And that is just the pure difference between what kind of global objectives, which kind of compositions really function at doing well. A double melee composition usually has to get at least 2 out of 3 kills in the enemy team before they can safely push an enemy turret, unless they are planning a tower dive, right? And against the Lyra, I would almost never really recommend tower diving or turret diving because it's just so difficult because of the heal and the bright bulwark to negotiate your way through that. The Hammers roster would have been far better at just going straight up for Goldmine and saying, come meet us, Immortals. We're going to take this off the map. It's a big amount of global gold. You've got to come towards us. But they've been focusing on the turret. That's not the strength for them. You saw C9 do it, Dalsy, with the Fortress. They just ran at the enemy Crystal Sentry because it's one of those kind of things they can focus.
Oh, they're going to try again onto the turret and look at the damage they're taking. It's going to be Fountain this time coming out nice and early to keep them all alive and get them out of here. But can they turn the fight? Dienzio very far forward, a lot of damage from Archaic, but here comes that drifting Dark Malice and Verdict, and T-Tigers gonna say push them all back here. Happy to even just tank up the turret as well. Archaic comes forward, starting knocks him back, but it's a huge reflex block. Oh, not enough! Archaic finds the kill, but will lose his life in the process. There's no Fountain available, and now Immortals are looking for this turret, starting all over, no afterburn for 5 seconds, and he's low as it is. Immortals going to respectfully push themselves back here, waiting in the tri-bush starting. Is he just going to dive into them? He's going to go very low! He's able to escape. This is insane. Hammers are playing a very risky game, and Max Green says, I want ya! Playboy Afro goes the other end of the portal, but I think he's just dead here. Dienzio going to write down the damage. Oh, he escapes. And Archaic is going to come in. This could just be a throw after throw, a counter throw of throws. As Archaic trying to find a kill here, but he can't get in range, and Playboy Afro is no use to him either.
Look at how heavily punished the Hammers roster was for pushing onto that turret. Even, they were just essentially trying to ignore Immortals the best they could, but this double range, so easily able to punish them for it, and then they were able to turn things around so nicely as well. T-Tiger's now heading to lane. He's got working towards what could either be a Broken Myth or an Eve of Harvest. I imagine Broken Myth, but the Eve of Harvest will give him the sustain necessary against a double melee, so that might be where he moves. I think the only way that Immortals lose this turret is if they get out-rotated. And in a situation like this, they are kind of out of position, and Hammers might look to push this pretty quickly.
Or Hammers decide to all dive onto the turret and they potentially suicide for it. It is going to be Max Green escaping. A silence comes out. It silences two. Playboy Afro doesn't block it up. Waiting used for that Crucible. Fountain comes out. The Crucible comes out as well, but it doesn't matter because starting once more goes down. And Archaic will follow. It's a double for T-Tigers. The portal in. Max Green leading the charge. He's going to block the damage and they're looking for the ace and it's going to come through clean for Immortals. They get a turret for themselves and they're going to take the gold lead.
Goodness me, Immortals running it again. Found their win conditions, found that Frostburn control in these fights. Max Green now getting a lot of health down, so that healing potential from him is that much stronger. And Dienzio, again, just able to kite so nicely. The silences have been so crucial in these fights as well, you feel, Doughty, because they have just been so impactful. A melee composition in general wants to group up, right? They want to commit to the same target. That's kind of what a dive composition like this is meant for. They want to try to clump around Adagio to make the best use out of his ultimate. That makes it that much easier for Dienzio to find those crucial multi-person silences. Man, Gangstars must be really worrying right now because Immortals look like a team that right now could potentially win the whole thing, and that would be very bad for Gangstars.
Yeah, and people said this. TSM said this about Immortals, that they, other than Cloud9, are the competition they fear the most. Now, I want to talk about the only way Hammers doesn't go to the Unified Western Live Championship as the turret finally goes down Hammers' fight, and maybe we'll talk about it later because the Immortals want to fight. Max Green looking for the engage here. It's going to be Archaic onto T-Tigers, but look at the damage onto him. He's getting bursted. The Fountain won't save him, and starting instead as well. Cannot escape from this as T-Tigers looks to finish the job. Dienzio is going to look to find the kill onto Playboy Afro, and it's easy as that. Another ace for Immortals here, and they're looking for a choke point at 13.
Man, just as you saw in that fight, the control that Immortals now have, you dive a target, they get a 400 or so heal straight away from Max Green on this Lyra, which gives the movement speed bonus. The Bright Bulwark slows down this heavy dive melee composition as Archaic takes a huge chunk of damage there, Dowsey. And just the pure slow and speed that the Immortals team have is really, really proving major issues for Hammers. I think they made major mistakes in the early game about where they were trying to capitalize from their early game aggression. They kept trying to butt their heads against this turret when their composition is not really supposed to do that. They didn't draw Immortals in by going for Goldmine, which, by the way, I don't even think has been taken this game.
No, it hasn't.
And I think Hammers made major mistakes here.
I agree, Xscoundrel. Now, I just want to clarify, Hammers... Oh, we won't get to clarify it. Starting all over goes in for Dienzio. Dienzio looking to escape. Dienzio just walked away! He gets a kill! Oh my god! Where are you, Hammers? Immortals are just showing you how Vainglory is played. Double kill comes through, another ace! And what are they going to do? They're going to take the gold mine because they've already taken so many of these turrets.
So much for the 11-minute win on Archaic's Koshka because Immortals are going to turn things right back on its head.
Okay, so talking about Unified Western Live Championships, the only way Hammers don't qualify is one, if Hammers get swept by Immortals, Immortals wins the weekend, Nova defeats Rogue and later scores more points in the day, Tempo defeats TSM, Hammers beats Cloud9 and then beats Tempo Storm in the semifinals. So already the win conditions are lost, the loss conditions are not completed because Gangstars did not defeat Cloud9. So that means that Hammers will be going to the Unified Western Live Championship. We can cut that out of our vocabulary. What's now happening is this third-seeded team is going to get no points if they lose this map. And that means that they may lose that third position, top position on day one. Another fight breaking out. Dienzio once more seemingly caught, but they're going to turn the fight around once more. Starting all over, going very low. But this time they find the kill to Dienzio. This could be a fight for Hammers as Max Green going to go down. And look at that Kraken! So conveniently timed! What a throw, potentially, from Immortals.
It's definitely looking like Hammers are still fighting this. They've got only 3,000 gold to claw back and then it's even. And I don't think T-Tigers is going to get there in time to try and take this Kraken. Major win for Hammers. The one issue that I think the Immortals roster had there, starting all over started that fight with a healing Treant buff. So then he committed very quickly to the end, Dienzio, knowing that he was actually going to sustain a bit longer because he had that buff going on him. And then the one thing that the Immortals roster really struggles with is if they split up, and they were split that fight. They couldn't get multi-man healing with the Lyra. The Bright Bulwark wasn't going to get as effective. They were isolating their two carries because they were on opposite sides of the fight. Immortals just caught, unfortunately, by being a little bit too confident, you feel, in the enemy side jungle. And that was just a bad fight for Immortals to take because of the positioning.
Very hard for Hammers to push with this Kraken Scoundrel. Already we mentioned that their composition requires team fights, and they don't really want to be fighting under turrets. So this Kraken will secure the first turret here, the tier 2, and it's very likely it's going to do a great amount of damage to the choke point. But will Hammers look to fight is the question. The Bright Bullet can shut them down immediately. Max Green times it well. Here's that Drifting Dark. It pushes everyone back so far. Archaic down to half health. No way they can fight now, and Immortals know it. They zone Hammers right off this Kraken, and that means that this choke point turret may even survive.
Wow, that would be a net gold gain for Immortals as well, because you only get 300 for the turret and you get 500 for the Kraken. So, yeah, it's a net gold gain here for Immortals, which is good for them. Yeah, great. Kraken, that's stalled the game out a bit longer for this melee composition, but I mean, look at the damage items. Archaic only 2, and yeah, Koshka starts to fall off towards the late game, especially on just a 2 damage item build. Starting all over, on the Tension Bow, Sorrowblade build, there's no longevity for him there, it's all burst orientated, and you can see Zio's now got both his Aegis and his Metal Jacket, meaning that it's going to be very difficult to burst this guy down, especially through the Lyra healing. They're going to try and use that range advantage and punish Hammers, and you saw, Dalsy, you illustrated it so well. The advantages that a Samuel brings against this kind of composition, if you start the sort of the engage off with the Drifting Dark and the Malice and Verdict, and you hit a couple of key targets with those skill shots, as a roster as Hammers, you either commit or you don't with this composition. And if you're sort of getting battered from range, you're left in an awkward scenario where you can't commit because you've already taken the damage before the fight started.
Currently, Hammers have shown that they have the ability to win teamfights against Scoundrel, which means that if they're able to find the perfect mixture of an engage and panic out of Immortals, they can look to secure another team fight, take that choke point. This game gets later and later. This is the longest game we've had in NA so far.
Oh.
And if it goes longer than this, then it does mean the death timer starts to stack up. Starting all over going to take a huge amount of poke, and you may think that's okay because there's an Adagio on your team who can heal you, but Adagio's healing is just nowhere near as good as Lyra's in this current meta. Makes things very difficult for the Hammers roster. Looks like a fight may break out. It's brewing. I can sense the tension in these players. They all group up, but Immortals very wisely just backing away and getting distance between them in this scary, aggressive composition from Hammers.
I really like the build from Max Green, by the way. Now, you might wonder why he's gone Contraption. This is generally one of the more accepted items on Lyra, specifically because the health and the cooldown reduction are really good for her. But also, one of the ways that you lose this game is by getting surprised through what is like a Death Brush setup. By having Contraption, you make that possibility far less likely as Zio jumps to the wall here. They are really searching for a fight, our Immortals, right now, Dalsy.
They certainly are. Max Green, bit of poke onto him. It's a stacking of the Broken Myth for Archaic. Here we go, starting all over, gonna dive on in. They're looking for an orb, and Oblivion puts to sleep. It's a devastating result for Hammers. An ace, and that's it. GG. There's no way Hammers defend their base. Immortals with a 2-0 going to day 2.
Immortals keep their unified Western Live Championship dreams alive. They nail one hammer into the coffin of the Gangstars. They hammer one nail of the coffin to the Gangstars roster, who will be desperately waiting to see the rest of this weekend play out. And Hammers may be seceding their 3rd place spot, but, like you said, Dalsy, won't be too worried as their position is still guaranteed.
Yes, certainly is. It's a fantastic result for Immortals, and of course, all eyes on them to see how they perform in tomorrow's semi-finals as well. They will be going up against the winner of the next series in the semi-finals, which makes it all so much more exciting for us here watching this, because we get to find out who is going to be Immortals' opponents as they head into day 2.